What if in the next 10 minutes I could show you how you can earn over $5,000 per month over the next 6 months without needing to upgrade or change your core skills? Would you stick around? First, positioning in a clear niche. So you need to carve out a very specific specialty of what you actually do, and it needs to be very outcome focused. So for example, conversion focused UX writing for SaaS. That's very, very specific. So first of all, you're targeting SaaS companies, then you're targeting not just writing or copywriting, but UX writing, and then you focus on conversions. When you see this headline, this is a very specific headline for a very specific type of client. You need to figure out who your ideal client is. You need to figure out who your avatar is. You know, who that just kind of avatar is basically just going more in depth of what that client is like and how you can find similar type of people like that client. If you do something if you specialize in a very specific thing, you rise above the crowd and you actually become go-to expert rather than anyone who's doing just general writing. None of the SaaS companies hires just writers to write their landing pages, but they will hire conversion-focused UX writer to write their specific landing pages. So positioning yourself in a very clear niche and knowing who your avatar is the way to go above and beyond that $5,000 per month. And then it's a very nice segue into premium pricing, where you need to avoid under-evaluation. So the thing is that charging what you're truly worth based on the outcomes and ROI, not just hours. This will boost your revenue. Usually people people come up with prices very randomly, and it's usually they charge per hour, or even if it's fixed price, it's usually very low fixed price. You're not basically charging what you're worth. When you start focusing, first of all, when you have that clear niche, where we talked about in the first step, when you have that clear niche, then you focus on outcomes and ROI. When you start focusing on that and you understand what kind of value you bring to your clients, if you go back to that same UX writer example, if that UX writer improves the writing and the conversion increases from like 1% to 1.5%, how much is that 0.5% worth to that client? If they have a specific thing that they sell, you can actually calculate that, and you can actually have that in your sales pitch, in your sales page, whenever you talk to clients. So when you know what kind of value and ROI you're providing, it's actually a lot easier to start pricing your services a lot higher, because you now know what they're worth. Instead of you're just a writer and then a SaaS company comes in and hires you to do a landing page, and you just say, hey, $50 for a landing page, and you do that and that's it. You see how big of a difference that is? Premium pricing, it attracts higher caliber clients who respect your expertise, and they actually stick around longer. So it's a win-win in all of cases if you start charging premium prices. And from my own experience, the more I charge, the better clients are. It's very weird, but it's kind of the opposite of the way you would think it would work. But the more people pay, the more fun it is to work with them. When you have your clear niche, when you have your premium pricing, the next thing that you need to do is predictable sales and qualification process. Freelancers usually just start, they accept basically any kind of work. They work with everyone and whatever kind of work is thrown their way. I was guilty of that myself. But top freelancers, especially the ones that go beyond $5,000 per month, they don't just, cold blindly or rely on random referrals or anything like that. You need to build a type of funnel where you can sort of attract and qualify people. So you need some kind of a lead magnet, and that lead magnet can either be inbound or outbound, depending on sort of your specific strategy. But you need to know your specific avatar, your clear niche, and you need to start looking where those people are. Then discovery call. You have to have discovery calls and qualify people for them. You have to have tailored proposals and clear next steps with these clients. So you need to establish all of this process and make it as systematic and as clear as possible, because during that process, it will allow you to actually start working with the most premium clients. The better the system, and also if you have the system, there, you know what you can improve. If you know that, for example, from discovery calls to actual clients, you can convert like 50% of the time, then all you need is just more leads coming in your way. So you basically decide, you start figuring out how can you increase, instead of having 5 discovery calls per month, how can you have 10? Because if you're converting half of them, you just basically twice amount of money for the same kind of system here. So this is a crucial thing. We have the 4th thing, which is building recurring revenue streams. So retainers are one of the key things that you need to do. And it doesn't matter if it's a subscription style, a bundled maintenance package, retainer agreements, whatever it is, it has to be an ongoing monthly basis, because having this kind of baseline of predictable monthly income is the fastest way to bust through ceilings like 5, 10 per month, and then eventually 10, and then 20K per month, and then beyond. If you're only offering fixed prices, or if you're only doing sort of one-time projects, or worse, if you're only charging hourly, you are not gonna go beyond $5,000 per month this way. You need sustainable revenue streams that are usually retainer-based, and whatever sort of services that you offer, if we go back to the clear positioning, clear niche, and premium pricing, you need to figure out how can you deliver the outcomes and ROI that are consistently can be done on the ongoing basis. So if you are the same UX writer that does landing pages, how can this work for you? Maybe you can sort of offer, maybe the initial cost is higher because you are sort of doing the writing for that particular landing page, but then you can offer a service where you actually kind of look at that landing page, get data from them, and then every single month improve at least something so that you can keep increasing that conversion. Or you maybe start working with ads, and then that SaaS has sort of a lot of ads, and it's an ongoing thing that you can do. So whatever it is, you need to figure out how can you build a specific service that you provide where you can offer that every single month. And the last part is systematic and scalable marketing. This is probably the most difficult to do, and it will take you the longest time, but you need to start as early as possible. So word of mouth, it is great. Referrals are amazing, but unfortunately, it's kind of not a strategy you can kind of, turn on at whenever you want to. It's still amazing to get sort of start doing it, again, as early as possible, but you need to find a more systematic approach of how can you do this. So top tier freelancers, they kind of layer in content marketing. They have, case studies, papers. They use LinkedIn to constantly publish and sort of have maybe a wait list that can gather sort of leads. Some are doing paid ads, but then you can also do like partnerships with other different type of freelancers that can sort of bring you leads your way, especially if you're a UX writer and you kind of partner with another developer. Then as soon as that developer makes landing pages, he will always refer to you to make those texts for that client. So that partnership can work very well. And then you also need a proactive outreach campaigns that also work on a systematic level. Because if you're a freelancer, usually you kind of need to constantly be looking for clients. This is usually clients drop off. I mean, it depends on sort of how long you can keep the clients. Some services, only require half a year. Other services, can probably work for a couple of years. So it does depend on your niche and specific things that you offer. But needless to say, you do need a proactive outreach to keep a steady flow of A-list prospects in your pipeline at all times. And the more systematic and scalable that particular marketing strategy is, the better it is for you in the long term. If you got value in this video, check out my newsletter. I share a lot more strategies and stuff of how I personally work with clients, what type of things I use, and just everything that I'm learning even until sort of this day. So check that out. But for now, YouTube things that you want to watch this particular video here. So check it out here, and I'll see you in the next one.